All right, hi guys, I'm Tracy. Thank you for joining me today. So today's video is geared a little more towards those of you who may not have as an extensive of a brush collection, and maybe you're having some hard time deciding what kind of brushes to buy, or even if you have a lot, hopefully this can help you decide on what kind of brush to use when you're doing your blush. So what kind of brush to choose for your blush. Hope I get that right throughout this video. But anyhow, I'm going to start off with like 3 kind of questions to ask yourself. And these questions will kind of guide you in the right direction when it's time to choose a brush. So first, and at the end, I'm going to give you guys examples of brushes that I have that will fit these descriptions if you guys want specifics, and if I remember, I'll put them all in the description so you guys have a little guide if you're looking to buy some brushes soon. And this is a type of brush that I have a lot of, so these are the ones that I'm going to be talking about today. These are not the only ones I have, but these are ones that fit into these types of categories that I want you guys to start considering when you're picking out a brush. So first, what kind of intensity are you going for? What kind of intensity do you like? Are you looking for a very like light wash of color? Or are you looking for something more intense? Sometimes I like a stronger blush look and sometimes I don't. So, you know, you could prefer both. And another question is, look at your blushes and figure out what kind of blushes do you have. Do you have a lot of creams? Do you have a lot of shimmer blushes? Do you have a lot of matte blushes? And you know, you want to try to buy brushes that allow you to utilize the makeup that you already have. I don't believe in like buying a blush and then having to look for a brush that will work with that. You know, I would say look at what you have and try to find brushes that will work with most of them. So if that makes sense, that way you don't have to keep buying and buying. And another thing that you want to keep in mind is what kind of skin tone do you have? Do you have a deep skin tone? Are you very fair? Because that's going to determine how these brushes work for the type of blushes you have. So there's a lot of things to consider, but I'm hoping this video kind of gives you a little direction if you are kind of lost and trying to figure out what kind of brush to buy. And I'm trying to help you guys not make the mistake that I made. I was just blindly buying blush brushes, and I have a lot that I just don't use, and you know, it's a big waste of money. So I'm also going to show you guys some that are multifunctional, ones that you can use for creams and powders and things like that. I really wanted to wait for my Sonia G Fusion brushes to come because they are, I believe, for powders and creams and liquids, but there's a delay in my shipment. Oh, that has not shipped yet, so I didn't want to wait for those to come in because I don't know when they're coming in. So I'm going to just work with the brushes that I have already. Okay, so in general, and there's always exceptions to these rules, I don't like it when people give you these rules that you must stand by, you know, no matter what. Because the truth is, the world is not usually black and white. It's more so gray, you know. So I'm just kind of giving you guys a little outline of how I feel these decisions should be made. So intensity. So in general, the finer the hairs on your brush, the lighter of an application you're going to get. So a squirrel hair brush, the hairs are very fine, like this Chikuhodo Z-8, versus goat hair, which is going to be just a thicker, the hair cuticle is just thicker. I mean, you guys can't really see it. These are you really have to feel it to know what I'm talking about. But if the bristles are a little coarser, it's going to provide more intensity, and if it's a finer hair, it's going to provide a lighter application. And another thing is the longer the bristles, a brush I like to use for this example, the longer the hairs on your brush, the lighter of an application is going to provide versus I'll use the Hakuhodo 210. So this one is going to provide more intensity than this one, just in general. And another thing, and there's a lot of questions about this because this is a question that I've been asking for a long time, is what kind of brushes can you use for creams and which ones can you not use for creams? General rule that's been out there is squirrel hair should not be used with creams and liquids, and the better hairs are synthetic or goat hair, and if it's dyed, it tends to not be good for creams and liquids in general. So for example, the Sonia G, again, the soft cheek, this is dyed Chikuhodo goat hair. The hairs are a little too fine to be using with creams and liquids, and it makes sense. Also, the longer hairs make it more difficult to work with creams and liquids. And also, if you're using a longer brush with creams and liquids, it's just going to absorb a lot more versus a short, coarser brush like this. This is a really great brush for creams and liquids. And I think also, I'm starting to think, if you just want to make things easier for yourself and you don't have a lot of brushes, go with a synthetic brush for your creams and liquids. There's so many out there, and there's so many amazing ones out there, and they're very reasonable. This Mizuho, it's called a liquid foundation brush, but it is also great with creams. I'm not using it for liquids, but I'm actually going to show you guys this one. I only have 2 cheeks, so I can't show you guys all these brushes, but I'm going to try to use this with creams and show you guys how amazing it is with a cream blush. And what kind of skin tone do you have? So if you're extremely fair, in general, you're going to want a softer, fluffier brush because that's going to provide less intensity unless you're going for a very strong look. And in general, if you have a tan to deeper skin tone, you might want to lean more towards like a goat hair brush, something that will give you more intensity, because sometimes blushes that are too light will have a hard time showing on a deeper complexion, and vice versa. Sometimes blushes are going to have too much intensity or pigment to look good on a fair skin tone. So you want something light and fluffy if you want to use some of these blushes out there in general. And okay, the lighter application for longer hairs. If you see the labels like Chikuhodo goat hair or Sokoho goat hair, I think the Sokoho goat hairs tend to be better for creams and liquids, and Chikuhodo, I tend to use it more for powders. There are exceptions, but the Chikuhodo goat hairs, sometimes they're so fine, they're so soft, it's kind of a shame to use them with creams. And I do have a brush that I feel like I've damaged a lot because the hairs are so fine, a little too fragile for the cream product I've been using it with. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys some examples of brushes that will give you these types of applications. So the first topic I'm going to talk about, which is a very popular topic now because this cream blush thing is so popular. Every brand has a cream blush, it seems. I'm going to give you guys examples of brushes that will work really great with cream blushes, and I'm also going to show a couple of them in action. I have one. Okay. So, for example, I used the Hakuhodo J210 for a long time for my creams. I'm not going to recommend it for creams because I feel like mine has shed so much and gotten damaged so much that it's actually not even the same brush. It's just so much more sparse. But in general, a shape like this is great for cream products because the hairs aren't too long, so you're going to have more control, right? So for creams, I like to just put it in one spot and kind of like buff it out from there and kind of lighten it up. Also, goat hairs tend to be a little less absorbent, so it's not gonna like eat up your blush, and when you do put the blush on here, it will deposit it to your skin, as opposed to something like this. You know, first of all, this brush would get damaged if you use it for creams and liquids, and it's just not going to pick up enough and apply enough onto your skin. So these are only for powders, but this is a good one, you know, if you don't mind it getting ruined. And then this Mizuho synthetic brush is really great, and in fact I'm going to use it right now just to show you guys how it works. And I'm trying to avoid using my nude sticks because I kind of read up on, you know, how the company's been a little deceptive. I don't want to go into it, but I'm trying to use my other cream blushes. So this is the LYS cream blush in Empower, and it's probably my strongest cream blush that I have. So I like using a round brush like this, and see, it picks up a pretty good amount. And let's just see how this works. I haven't used this for blush for a long time because I prefer this for foundation, but let me just show you guys how it comes out. So this blush is something that I don't want a heavy application, but it seems like that is kind of what this brush is going to give you. But I really like the way it comes out. Yes, it's a strong look, but it's very, I don't know, it's just very beautiful. I really do like the way my cream products come out when I use this brush. It just looks so smooth. It looks so like diffused. I don't know if I would say natural, but you know, it was so quick, and you know, if you look like straight on, I think it looks really nice, and I really do like this brush a lot. I highly recommend this one. And then another one that I really like for cream blushes is this other Mizuho brush. I use this mainly for cream contour, but because the bristles are short, also this is Sokoho goat hair, and I can't remember if there's some synthetic, but these hairs are not that soft. They're pretty coarse, and this brush has a little give, not too much. So that's a perfect brush for your cream blushes and, you know, contour and things like that. So I really like this for cream blush. Because of the angle, I tend to use it for my contour, but I've used it for blush, and it's really great for that too. Another one that I really like for cream blush is this Houkodou angled. It's a foundation brush, but I do like it for blush and bronzer because of the shape and the size. So for cream blushes, I don't think you should get a really big brush. You kind of want to have control over where it goes. So that's why I do like kind of like a mid-size brush for the creams. And I have other ones here. I'm not going to go through all of them. Another one I really like is the Goss 12. It's pretty dense, but it does have a lot of give, so I like it because also the shape is really nice for doing blush and also bronzer. And let me see another one. Those are the main ones that I want to talk about for cream blushes. And then brushes that you can use to put on a very light powder application. will be most of my squirrel hair blush brushes, like the Z-8. This is probably between this and the Bisyodo Cheek brush. These are my favorite blush brushes currently to do a very light application. And let me show you guys this one. I don't know if I've demoed this on camera before, but I'm going to use this Suku blush, and this one is not very pigmented. It kind of looks like it in the pan, but it really isn't. I could probably get it to show up very, you know, more intensely, but I'm gonna just use this. See, that's a lot on there, but I'm gonna try to show you guys how with the right brush it can come out very light and natural looking. So I kind of buff it like this. Another reason I buff is also it tends to bring out the sheen in a blush, and I'll show you guys that. So this blush is really great because it could be a matte blush, or it can kind of have a little bit of a sheen. It's not going to be shimmery or anything, but it has like a nice slight sheen to it, and I think that's intentional. But see how a brush like this, that's so soft, the hairs are pretty long. The same result would be with this Chikuhodo Z-8 also. And I like, just, you know, when I want a barely there blush look, these two are really great. Another one that I've been using for a long time is the Sonia Soft Cheek. I use this, I just I put like a little bit on one side, and then I also buff like this. And with this brush, it's really hard to mess up your blush because it provides such a nice natural application. The same goes if you don't want to go with the Sonia G. Also, this brush is very hard to get because it's usually out of stock. The Hakuhodo G5538, the G5538, it's Psycho Goat Hair. It's a very long haired brush and it's very sparse. This will also give you a very similar application of blush. So if you're someone that doesn't like a very strong blush look, I would say these, I'll list them below, brushes like this. See, this one's not that long, but it's not dense, so it has a lot of give. This one is like superbly soft squirrel hair, so it's not going to give you a strong look. And this one is soft, it's not that dense either. And this one, the long hairs, this one is a lot more dense than the Hakuhodo, but because of the length of the bristles, these aren't going to give you a strong, intense blush look. Okay, so those are the light application brushes. Now I'm going to go over some that have a little bit more punch, like ones that are going to give you more intensity. Or even if you have a blush that is really light and you're having a hard time getting it to show up, these are some really good ones that you can get and use. One of my favorites for this is the Sonia G Cheek Pro. It's a pretty dense brush. It is really soft though, but there's something about this brush that gives you such a beautiful blush application. I believe I've used this on camera previously, but I really cannot recommend this enough. And I believe they she formatted this with the Lotus series and made this in just an undyed goat hair version, I'm pretty sure. And that one would work also really well if you wanted a stronger blush look. For example, this Laura Mercier Bellini blush is very light for me. This formula in general is very light, more of like a buildable type of blush. So if you don't want to spend a lot of time building it up, a brush like this is really going to give you more of an impact. And I tend to pounce with this one, and just like that. I don't do this with it for some reason because you know, if I'm trying to build intensity, I'm usually trying to just get it in one little area. So there, so I got this to show up. When I use like a brush like this with this light blush, it's hard to show. So it just depends on what you want out of your blushes, and I think it's good to have a variety. So I'm going over 3 different types that I think will be a good way to start. So this is the more intense powder brushes. Another example of this would be also like the Hakuhodo B510. This is pretty new, so I'm still getting used to it, but it'll give you a pretty good intensity. This is such a soft brush, and because it's pretty dense and it's not terribly big, it's really good for like just getting the color right there. It's also really great for bronzer. The shape is really perfect for like my size face, and it also is wonderful with finishing powder. I use this with my hourglass finishing powder, and it came out really nice. So this one, I'm really enjoying this for all sorts of things. But this is actually a very versatile brush because it is soft, so it can give you a very light application. But if you want to really load up the color, you could give yourself a pretty intense look. So this one's very versatile. Another really good one that is also versatile is the Hakuhodo B110. It's a medium density. It's not super dense and it's not super sparse. So you can do both. You can do like a very light blush bronzer look, or you can kind of load it up and like really get it in one concentrated area and kind of bring out the intensity of your blushes. So this one, I would say these 2 are probably my more versatile blush brushes. You know, if you just want to get one, you know, you don't want to have to get you know, these 3 different kinds, although you can't use these for creams and liquids, but you could get so much use out of these 2 brushes. I really enjoy these 2, and this one is their most popular blush brush, the B110. Another option that you could go for, and I recommend this brush if you're very fair and you want a very light application of blush, is the Hakuhodo K022. The hairs are very long. I believe this is 50 millimeters, and it's not dense. So you're getting long hairs and kind of a sparse brush. So when you do this or like this, it's going to be a very subtle look, which is great if you're very fair. I don't really use this just because it's a little bit too light for me, but I can see like if I were maybe a shade lighter, I would probably use this more, but this just doesn't give me enough pigment in general to really make use of it. But I do know a lot of people that really enjoy this brush and that have multiples of this one. Let me just make sure I got them all. Another one that I would consider very versatile is the Sonia G Designer Pro. This one's a little bit easier to get. I feel like it's in stock more than some of her other blush brushes, but it's a medium density. It's pretty long. I tend to use this to powder. If you want to kind of pack on the blush, you can. I've used this for bronzer before, also for highlighter. But because the hairs are so soft and because it's got that slant, you can also very lightly get your blush on with this. So I think this is also very versatile in that you can use it for blush, bronzer, powder, and highlight. So this is kind of like an all-around brush, and I recommend this to pretty much everybody. I can't imagine someone not making use of this brush. It's just so amazing. It's kind of like a beefed up version of the Goss airbrush, which you can't get anymore, but if you have this one is just a heavier, like a stronger version of the Goss airbrush. Let me just make sure I covered everything. I have a few others that I just don't use, so I don't want to really talk too much about them. But I think that's kind of what I wanted to say for today. You know, just so think about what intensity you're looking for. Consider what type of blush you're using, and also your skin tone. You know, that's going to determine how much intensity you're going to need from your brush, or, you know, how much of a light application you're going for. And if you want like a really, really light dusting of blush or bronzer, the Hakuhodo fan brushes are extremely light. I don't have them, so I can't say firsthand, but when I did feel them and try them the other day when I was at the showroom, I was just amazed by how light and how airy it is. I can see if you're looking for a very, very natural highlighter look, which I'm kind of considering getting one for. I can see the fan brush, the mixed hair one, being really great. I mentioned it in my Hakuhodo showroom visit video, and I think at some point I'll get it, not now because I've just been getting way too much, but I'm looking into getting blush brushes, highlighter brushes that have even a lighter application of the brushes that I already have. So when I get those, I'll report back to you guys. And also when I get my Sonia G brushes, I'll do some comparisons of those also. And those are fusions, so they're meant for creams, liquids, and powders, I believe. Anyhow, that's really all I have for today. I hope this video helped you guys, and I will see you all next time. Bye.